The champagne flute exploded against marble like a gunshot. Maya's breath hitched as crystal fragments scattered across the pristine floor of the Meridian Hotel's grand ballroom. Around her, conversations died. Designer gowns rustled. All eyes turned toward the clumsy waitress who'd just shattered a glass worth more than her monthly rent. "I'm so sorry, The words died in her throat as she met steel-gray eyes across the chaos. Alexander Kane. Even from 20 feet away, his presence commanded the room. Dark suit molded to broad shoulders, jaw carved from marble. The tech mogul, who'd built an empire from nothing, whose face graced magazine covers and boardroom nightmares alike. He was staring directly at her. Maya dropped to her knees, frantically gathering crystal shards with trembling fingers. Blood welled from a cut on her palm, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. This job was everything: her mother's medical bills, the tiny apartment, survival itself. Careful. The voice was whiskey rough, commanding yet gentle. Maya looked up to find Alexander Kane crouched beside her, his expensive suit forgotten as he helped collect the scattered glass. Up close, she could see the lines of exhaustion around his eyes, the tension coiled in his shoulders. "You're bleeding." His fingers brushed hers as he took the crystal fragments from her palm. The contact sent electricity shooting up her arm. Maya jerked back, cheeks burning. "I can handle it." "I know you can." Something flickered in his expression. "That doesn't mean you should." Before Maya could respond, the lights went out. Emergency lighting cast the ballroom in hellish red. Screams erupted as armed figures burst through the service doors, weapons raised, faces hidden behind black masks. "Nobody moves!" The leader's voice cracked like a whip. "This is about justice. This is about truth." Maya's world tilted. She found herself pressed against Alexander's chest as he pulled her behind an overturned table, his body a shield between her and the chaos. "Stay down," he whispered against her ear, his breath warm despite the ice in his voice. "Whatever happens, stay close to me." The masked leader stalked between cowering guests, weapon trained on the crowd. Someone here isn't who they claim to be. Someone here has blood on their hands. His gaze swept the room and landed on Alexander. "Found you." Time moved like honey through broken glass. Maya counted heartbeats, hers racing, Alexander's steady as stone, while chaos swirled around them. The masked figures had herded the guests into the center of the ballroom, but Alexander remained crouched beside her behind the overturned table, his hand warm and steady on her back. "Listen to me carefully," he murmured, voice barely audible above the shouting. "These aren't ordinary criminals. They know who I am, which means they know things about my business they shouldn't." Maya's pulse hammered against her throat. "What kind of things?" Alexander's jaw tightened. "The kind that could destroy lives." Across the room, the leader gestured, sharply with his weapon. "Alexander Kane, step forward." Maya felt Alexander's muscles coil like a spring, but instead of rising, he turned to her, his gray eyes intense in the hellish light. "I need you to know something before this goes any further." His thumb traced across her knuckles, the gesture achingly gentle. "I've been watching you tonight. Not because you're clumsy or out of place, but because you're the only real thing in this room full of masks." Her breath caught. "Alexander, my company develops security technology for governments. Sometimes that means making impossible choices. Sometimes people get hurt." His voice was raw with something she couldn't name. "I've told myself it was necessary, but looking at you, seeing your kindness, your courage, I'm not sure I can live with those choices anymore." The confession hung between them like shattered glass, beautiful and dangerous. "Alexander Kane!" the leader's voice boomed. "I know you're here. Come out, or innocent people start dying." Maya saw the moment Alexander made his decision. His shoulders straightened. His expression hardened into the mask she'd seen in magazine photos. But his hand remained gentle on hers. When I stand up, you run for the kitchen doors, don't look back. No. The word escaped before she could stop it. I won't leave you. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, admiration, something deeper. Maya, you said I was the only real thing in here. She lifted her chin, fighting the terror clawing at her chest. Then trust me to be real about this too. Alexander stared at her for a long moment. Then incredibly he smiled. It transformed his entire face, revealing the man beneath the mogul. Together then, they rose as one. The leader's mask turned toward them, and Maya could feel his attention like a physical weight. The great Alexander Kane. And who's this? Your latest acquisition? She's no one, Alexander said smoothly, stepping slightly in, front of Maya. A waitress who got caught in the wrong place. Funny thing about wrong places, the leader mused, circling them slowly. They have a way of revealing who people really are. He gestured sharply, and two of his men moved forward. Maya's breath shortened as she recognized the methodical way they approached. These weren't desperate criminals. They were professionals. You see, Mr. Kane, we know about your company's little side projects, the surveillance programs, the data harvesting, the innocent lives destroyed in the name of national security. Alexander's face remained impassive, but Maya felt the tension radiating from him. I don't know what you're talking about. The leader laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Of course you don't. Men like you never do. He raised his weapon. But tonight that changes. Tonight you pay. The shot never came. Instead, the ballroom erupted into chaos as smoke grenades detonated and tactical teams poured through the windows. Maya found herself swept up in Alexander's arms as he moved with deadly precision, navigating the confusion with an ease that spoke of training beyond boardroom battles. They reached a service corridor as the sounds of combat faded behind them. Alexander set her down gently, his hands framing her face as he searched for injuries. Are you hurt? Maya shook her head, though she was trembling so hard she could barely stand. Who were they? What did they want? Alexander's expression was grim. The truth. And they weren't entirely wrong to want it. Before Maya could ask what he meant, footsteps echoed in the corridor. Alexander tensed, pushing her behind him once again. But the figure who emerged from the shadows wasn't wearing a mask. Hello, Alex. The woman was elegant, dangerous, with platinum hair and eyes like winter. Miss me? Alexander went rigid. Victoria. The woman smiled, and it was sharp enough to cut. Surprised? You shouldn't be. After all, you taught me everything I know about corporate espionage. Maya's world tilted. You know her? Know her? Victoria's laugh was crystalline and cold. Darling, I used to be married to him. The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. Married. Alexander had been married to this woman who moved like smoke and smiled like winter. Maya felt suddenly foolish, a waitress playing dress-up in a world of beautiful, dangerous people who traded secrets like currency. Ex-wife, Alexander corrected, his voice carefully neutral. Victoria, what are you doing here? Victoria stepped closer, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Cleaning up your mess, as usual. Did you really think those masked crusaders found your company by accident? Maya watched the interplay between them, the way Alexander's shoulders tensed, how Victoria held herself like a weapon waiting to be deployed. There was history here, complex and painful. You leaked the information, Alexander said. Not a question. I revealed the truth. Victoria's eyes flicked to Maya, dismissive and cold. Your precious security company has been selling surveillance technology to dictatorships. People have died because of your algorithms, Alex. Families destroyed, children orphaned. Maya felt. The words hit Alexander like physical blows. His jaw worked, but he said nothing. Nothing to say? Victoria pressed. No justification for the blood money? Enough. Alexander's voice was quiet, but carried absolute authority. Maya doesn't need to hear this. Maya? Victoria's attention sharpened on her like a laser. Oh, how precious. Tell me, darling, what did he promise you? Money? Security? A chance to play princess? Heat flooded Maya's cheeks, but she lifted her chin. He didn't promise me anything, Victoria laughed. They never do at first, but Alex has a pattern. He finds vulnerable women, makes them feel special, then discards them when they become inconvenient. That's not, Alexander started. Isn't it? Victoria's voice turned razor sharp. What about Sarah from accounting? Emma, your former assistant? Or have you forgotten how you ruined their lives when they learned too much? Maya saw something crack in Alexander's expression. Guilt, raw and bleeding. They were liabilities, he said quietly. The words hung in the air like poison. Maya stepped back, her chest tight. Liabilities? Alexander's eyes snapped to hers, and she saw panic there. Maya, that's not what I meant. Yes, it is. Victoria's voice was silk over steel. It's exactly what you meant, just like she'll be a liability when this is over. The corridor seemed to spin around Maya, everything crystallized with horrible clarity, the way Alexander had appeared at the exact moment she'd needed help, his knowledge of the attacker's methods, the convenient rescue by tactical teams. This was all staged, she whispered. Alexander's face went white. No, Maya, listen to me. The attack, the rescue, everything. Her voice rose. I was bait, wasn't I? You used me to draw them out. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, Alexander said desperately. Yes, we knew they were coming. Yes, we were prepared. But what happened between us? That was real. Maya laughed, and it sounded broken even to her own ears. Real? I'm a waitress from nowhere. You're a billionaire who destroys lives for profit. What could possibly be real about that? She turned to leave, but Alexander caught her arm. Don't. His voice was raw. Please, let me explain. Maya looked at his hand on her arm, then up at his face. For a moment, she saw past the mogul, past the manipulator, to something desperately human underneath. Explain what? That I was just another tool in your corporate games? That everything you said was calculated to make me trust you? Not everything, he whispered. Victoria watched the exchange with cold amusement. How touching, but we have bigger problems. The masked group was just the beginning. There are others coming for you, Alex. People who won't be satisfied with exposure. Alexander's grip on Maya's arm tightened. What do you mean? I mean you've made enemies in very high places. People who prefer permanent solutions to public embarrassment. As if summoned by her words, the lights went out again. But this time, Maya was ready. In the darkness, she heard Victoria's sharp intake of breath, Alexander's muttered curse. But Maya had grown up in darkness, in small apartments with broken fixtures, in the shadows of a world that rarely noticed girls like her. She moved silently, muscle memory guiding her toward the emergency exit she'd noticed earlier. Behind her, she heard the whisper of footsteps, the soft snick of weapons being drawn. Maya? Alexander's voice, tense with concern. She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because in that moment of absolute darkness, she'd finally seen the truth. Clearly, she was in love with Alexander Kane, and he was going to get her killed. The emergency door opened silently under her hand. Maya slipped through into the night, the city's neon glow washing over her face. Behind her, she could hear shouts, the sound of running feet. She should keep running, should disappear into the crowd, back to her safe, small life. Instead, she turned around. Through the glass doors, she could see muzzle flashes, shadows moving with deadly purpose. Alexander was in there, facing whatever new threat had found him. Maya closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and made her choice. The fire alarm was right where she remembered it. As sirens began to wail and sprinkler systems activated, Maya pushed, back through the emergency door. The chaos she'd created would buy them time, but not much. She found Alexander pressed against a wall, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Victoria was nowhere to be seen. Maya? His eyes went wide with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" "Being stupid," she said, grabbing his hand. "Now move!" They ran through corridors filled with smoke and strobing emergency lights, Maya leading the way with an intuition born of a lifetime navigating dangerous spaces. Behind them, shouts echoed. Pursuit, closing in. There, Maya pointed to a service elevator hidden behind a maintenance panel. "Freight elevator. Goes directly to the parking garage." As the elevator descended, Alexander stared at her with something like wonder. "You came back." Maya met his gaze steadily. "You're a liar and a manipulator, and probably everything Victoria said you were." His face fell. "But you also risked your life for a stranger in a ballroom. And when you looked at me, you saw someone worth saving." She paused, her voice softening. "Maybe that makes me stupid, but I'd rather be stupid and real than smart and empty." The elevator shuddered to a stop. Through the opening doors, Maya could see Alexander's car waiting, sleek, black, an escape route into the night. "Where will you go?" she asked. Alexander was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, younger, more uncertain. "I don't know. For the first time in my life, I honestly don't know." Maya stepped out of the elevator, then turned back. "Alexander?" "Yeah?" "When you figure it out, when you decide what kind of man you want to be, find me." She started to walk away, but his voice stopped her. "Maya, what if I can't change? What if I am exactly what Victoria said I am?" Maya smiled, and for the first time that night, it reached her eyes. "Then I guess we'll both find out together." She disappeared into the shadows of the parking garage, leaving Alexander alone with his choices. Above them, the Meridian Hotel burned with the light of 1,000 shattered dreams. And somewhere in the smoke and chaos, the future waited to be written. 3 months later, Maya opened her apartment door to find a single white envelope on her doorstep. Inside, a plane ticket to Geneva and a note in elegant handwriting. "I've spent 90 days learning how to be the man you saw in me. If you're willing to take another chance on someone trying to be real, I'll be waiting at the Palais des Nations at sunset. No lies this time, no games, just truth, however sharp the fragments." "Hey!" Maya held the ticket up to the light, watching how it caught the golden rays of the setting sun. Outside her window, the city hummed with a million stories of people choosing between safety and possibility. She reached for her suitcase. Some stories, she thought, were worth the risk of a beautiful ending.